January 26th, 1945, Holtzwihr, France. A 19-year-old kid from Texas stands in the snow. His company is gone. His radio man is gone. The tree line ahead is moving, and it is not trees. 250 German soldiers, 6 Panzer tanks, advancing in a line through the frozen field toward what remains of his position. His men have already pulled back. He ordered them to. He stayed. He picks up the radio, calls for artillery. Then he does something that no military manual has ever required of any soldier. He climbs onto a burning M10 tank destroyer, a vehicle that could detonate at any second, grabs the .50 caliber machine gun, and opens fire. Alone, one man, for 60 minutes. The Germans never reached that line. To understand how a man becomes capable of that, you have to start from the beginning. You have to go back to a county in East Texas where nobody had ever heard of Audie Murphy. Hunt County, Texas, 1924. Emmett and Josie Murphy were sharecroppers, tenant farmers who worked land they would never own in exchange for a portion of whatever grew. It was a hard life in a hard county, and it did not get easier. Audie Leon Murphy was born June 20th, 1924. He was the 6th of 12 children. His father, Emmett, was not a stable man. He drank, he disappeared for long stretches. By the time Audie was a young boy, Emmett had simply stopped coming home. His mother, Josie, held the family together with her bare hands. She took in laundry. She worked in the fields. She kept her children fed when there was barely anything to feed them with. Audie dropped out of school in 5th grade, not because he was not smart, because the family needed money. He picked cotton. He hunted rabbits and squirrels to put food on the table. At 11 years old, he was the primary provider for his younger brothers and sisters. In 1941, Josie Murphy fell ill. She was 33 years old. She passed in May of that year, and Audie Murphy, at 16 years old, placed his youngest siblings in an orphanage because he could not feed them all alone and went to work. He did not cry in public. Those who knew him said he rarely showed emotion after that. Something had closed in him, or perhaps something had opened, a door that only opens when there is nothing left to lose. December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor. Audie Murphy walked to the nearest recruiting station the next day. He was 17. He wanted in. The Marines looked him over. Too small, too young, rejected. The paratroopers looked him over. Same answer. The Navy looked him over. Same answer. The Army took him, then tried to assign him to the Cook's Battalion. He refused. He asked specifically for infantry combat. They sent him to basic training. He was so slight, 5 feet 5 inches, 112 pounds, that his drill sergeant tried to transfer him back to headquarters. A sergeant named Counts intervened and kept him in. Every branch had said no. Every door had closed, and Audie Murphy walked through anyway. They shipped him to North Africa first, but the fighting there ended before his unit arrived. His first real combat came in Sicily, July 1943. He was 18 years old. His commanders noticed something immediately. Audie Murphy did not freeze. He did not hesitate. He assessed situations with a cold clarity that most soldiers spent years trying to develop, and some never did. Sicily, then mainland Italy, then the beaches of southern France in August 1944, Operation Dragoon. At Anzio, he distinguished himself under fire. In the Vosges Mountains of France, he earned his first Silver Star. He knocked out a German machine gun nest that had pinned down his entire platoon. He was wounded 3 times over the course of the war. The first time, he went back. The second time, he went back. Each time he returned, he came back with a different rank. Private, corporal, sergeant, staff sergeant. Then they made him an officer, a battlefield commission to 2nd lieutenant, which is one of the rarest honors the Army can bestow. It means your superiors have decided, in the field, with their careers on the line, that you are worth more as an officer than as an enlisted man. By January 1945, he was 19 years old, he had been in combat for nearly 2 years, and he commanded Company B of the 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division. The 3rd Infantry Division was not a soft assignment. They called themselves the Rock of the Marne. They had been in combat longer than almost any other division in the European theater. And within that division, within that regiment, Audie Murphy had already become someone his men did not want to be separated from. Not because he was loud, not because he gave speeches, because when things went wrong, and in the Vosges in winter, things went wrong constantly, he was always standing where the problem was, not behind it, in it. Then came January 26th, and everything that had come before it became prologue. January 26th, 1945. The village of Holtzwihr, Alsace region of France. The Germans are attempting a counter-offensive to retake ground lost in the Allied advance. Company B is positioned at the edge of a wood line, facing an open field. The German force, 250 infantry soldiers, 6 Panzer IV tanks. Company B's strength, approximately 19 men. They are understrength, undersupplied, and standing in frozen ground with temperatures well below zero. The attack begins. Murphy's 2 flank platoons are overrun almost immediately. The men fall back. Murphy orders his remaining men to withdraw into the woods behind them. He stays. There is an M10 tank destroyer at the edge of the field, a lightly armored vehicle that mounts a 76mm gun. It has already been knocked out of action. It is on fire. Murphy gets on the radio and begins calling artillery coordinates. He can see the German line moving through the snow toward him. He adjusts the fire. The shells land in the field. But the German infantry keeps coming. He climbs onto the burning M10. The fuel tank is compromised. The vehicle could go up at any moment. He knows this. He grabs the .50 caliber machine gun mounted on the turret and begins firing into the advancing German troops at point-blank range. Some of them, by the end, within 10 yards of his position. The radio is still in his hand. He is calling artillery and firing simultaneously. The artillery officer on the other end asks him, "How close are the enemy?" Murphy's answer, "Hold the phone, and I'll let you talk to one of the bastards." For 1 hour, 60 minutes, one man holds that line. He is wounded in the right leg. He keeps firing. The tank beneath him is burning. He keeps firing. The Germans cannot advance. Every time they move forward, there is fire. Accurate, sustained fire from a position that should not exist anymore. The Germans withdraw. Murphy climbs down from the tank destroyer. He refuses evacuation. He walks back into the woods, reorganizes his men, and leads a counterattack to retake the ground that had been lost. That is not in the Medal of Honor citation as color. It is the citation. Here's where it gets strange. Years later, when people asked him about Holtzwihr, when journalists and historians asked him what it felt like, what he was thinking, whether he knew he might not come out, his answer was always the same. He said he was just doing what needed to be done. Not modesty as performance. The attention confused him. He had done what the situation required. Nothing more in his accounting, and nothing less. The boy who picked cotton to feed his brothers and sisters. The boy every branch of the military turned away. The boy who lost everything before he turned 17. He understood something about necessity that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. When there is no one else, you do it yourself. That is all. When the war in Europe ended in May 1945, Audie Murphy came home with 33 military decorations. The Medal of Honor, the Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, the Legion of Merit, the Bronze Star with Valour device, 3 Purple Hearts, the French Legion of Honor, the French Croix de Guerre with Palm, the Belgian Croix de Guerre, every American combat decoration that existed. He held them all. His face appeared on the cover of Life magazine in July 1945. The headline, "The Most Decorated Soldier." Hollywood called. James Cagney, the actor, personally invited Murphy to come to California and take a screen test. He made 44 films over the next 2 decades. He played himself into Hell and Back in 1955, his own autobiography on screen. It was Universal Pictures' highest-grossing film for more than 2 decades, until Jaws came out in 1975. From the outside, Audie Murphy had everything. From the inside, the war had never ended. He slept with a loaded pistol under his pillow every night. He couldn't sleep in a closed room. He woke up screaming. He had flashbacks so vivid that people around him said he would sometimes be gone, present in body but somewhere else entirely. Back in France, back in the snow. He had 3 marriages, 2 ended in divorce. He lost money on failed business ventures. He was arrested for attempting to shoot a dog trainer he believed was abusing animals. His love for dogs, people said, was one of the few uncomplicated things he had. In 1949, he published his autobiography. The title was blunt, To Hell and Back. And then he did something that no major American war hero had done before. He talked about it. Not the combat, the aftermath, the nightmares, the isolation, the feeling of being surrounded by people who were living in a world that had moved on while he was still in a field in Alsace. There was no clinical term for it yet in wide use. We call it PTSD now, post-traumatic stress disorder. In 1945, they called it battle fatigue, and the expectation for a man like Audie Murphy was silence. He refused. He wrote in one interview, "The war leaves a mark on you that will never go away." He advocated for veterans' benefits. He spoke to Congress about the needs of returning soldiers. He argued publicly that the men who had come back carrying invisible wounds deserved the same care as the men who had come back carrying visible ones. He did not live to see that argument fully won, but the argument he started is still being fought today. And every veteran who has ever been able to speak about what they carried home, they owe something to a man from Hunt County, Texas, who refused to stay quiet. In the spring of 1971, Audie Murphy was struggling financially. His film career had slowed. He was dealing with a gambling addiction that had cost him most of what he'd earned. He was 46 years old, and he was trying to put his life back together, the way he had always put things back together, by moving forward, one step at a time. On May 28, 1971, he boarded a private Aero Commander aircraft near Atlanta, Georgia, headed for a business meeting in Martinsville, Virginia. The plane flew into fog over Brush Mountain in Virginia. He does not come home from that flight. May 28, 1971. He was 46 years old. He is buried at Arlington National Cemetery on June 7, 1971, with full military honors. His grave is the second most visited in Arlington, just behind President Kennedy's. Every year on Memorial Day, the line at his headstone stretches long. Veterans, children, old men who remember the war, young men who only know the name. The headstone is simple, white marble, his name, his rank, his dates. No medals listed. He didn't need them listed. The people who come to that grave know. A Texas orphan who dropped out of school to pick cotton and feed his brothers and sisters, who was turned away by every branch of the United States military, who was sent to the infantry and told more than once that he should be in a kitchen. He didn't fight for glory. The men who fight for glory don't stay on burning vehicles. He didn't fight for medals. The men who fight for medals ask about them afterward. He fought because he believed in something, in a country, in an idea, in the possibility that where you come from does not determine where you end up. That idea that a sharecropper's son from Hunt County, with nothing but belief, could stand in a frozen field in France and hold the line, that is not mythology. That happened. Audie Murphy is proof that it happened. And as long as there are people who remember that proof, the America he fought for is still standing. This is the American Heroes series. Follow for more forgotten stories of valor.